Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Good Torah. All right, so today we're going to learn about Parsha Noach, Noah and the Ark. But we're going to focus on the end of the Parsha where it's the Migdal Babel, the Tower of Babel. So why did they build this huge skyscraper? Why did they build this thing? So we're going to get a lot of help today from the Midrash Says by Rabbi Moshe Weissman. If you've never read it, it's such a fantastic collection of Sfarim. It's on all 5 books of the Torah. And he brings like Midrashim from so many books of Midrashim and translates them in English. And we're going to just go through it today. It's just so fantastic, the insight he gives on the Parsha. So why did they build it, right? So Nimrod was the king. And after the flood, people were terrified of Hashem. Because Hashem destroyed the whole world. And they were terrified. They were living in the mountains. And Nimrod convinced everyone to come in the valley. And here's what his plan was. So he said to the people, he said, let us build a big city in which all of us can live together. In it, we will erect a very high tower, a skyscraper. The idea was enthusiastically accepted by all the nations. So Mizraim, Egypt, said to Cush, Cush said to Put said to Canaan. These are different African nations. He said, let us build a tower so high that it will reach Shemayim, it will reach the heavens. And we will make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered over the globe by another flood. So you see what Nimrod did, and we see it so much in world leaders. Some of these world leaders that aren't so good, they're using fear. And they're using fear to try to motivate people to do what they want. And we see it so clearly. So how could they actually believe that a tower, a skyscraper, would save them from another flood? Were they not informed by the previous generations that all attempts to escape Hashem's punishment, Hashem's punishing arm, are fruitless, as was clearly shown by the Mabul? So they did not know nor understand, for their eyes were shut, that they could not see, and their hearts that they could not understand. So that's from Yeshaya 44:18, from the prophet Isaiah. So there was different groups, or different, these groups of different reasons for building the tower. So they all wanted a tower, but they had different ideas. So one group said, in case there's another flood, we'll climb to the top of the tower and the water won't reach us. So another group says, we'll make for ourselves a name. So this is so strange. What does that mean? So they wanted to use the top of the tower as a place to worship idols. So they wanted to create another name, another god. So all this Avodah Zarah, all these Elohim, Acherim, other gods, people create these gods for themselves. So the third group, it is not right that Hashem alone is in possession of the upper spheres, the heavens. So limiting our dominion to the lower world, just to earth. We will set up an idol at the top of the tower and put a sword in his hand and show him that the war is being declared against him. So, and there's still this madness. So you're going to wage a war against an infinite being that's created everyone, and the world only exists because of this infinite being. So it's just madness. And it's just a lack of understanding of who Hashem is. So all the above mentioned groups had in mind to rebel against Hashem. But there was yet a segment of the people who are far worse, denying Hashem's existence altogether. And how much do we see this in our days? It's rampant. The media acts like Hashem doesn't exist. There's no God. You watch any news program, never going to mention God. Public school systems around the world eradicated any mention of God from their textbooks and teaching the craziest nonsense. It's a new religion almost, like what they're teaching in public schools now. But no God. Hashem doesn't exist. We can do whatever we want. We'll just pretend, that flood was so long ago. Hashem hasn't done anything in so long. Be careful. It doesn't have to be a big thing like the flood. But we live in a world of onesh and sachar, of reward and punishment, They had rational explanations for every event in the universe and explained that the Mabul, scientifically analyzed, was nothing but a natural phenomenon. They said once every 1,656 years, the amount of years between the creation and the flood, the heavens shake, causing a flood to prevent the heavens from collapsing again. We must take precautions by building supports, one in the north, one in the south, one in the west, and the first pillar will be the tower in the east in the valley of Babel. In Babylonian, it was modern day Iraq. And how, so Hashem's not bringing these destructive hurricanes and destructive forest fires and all these natural disasters to wake people up to say, I don't like the behavior. I want you to act kinder to each other. I want you to get along. Like the parents getting upset. The teacher gets upset when the students are fighting. A parent gets upset when the children are fighting. So no, Hashem doesn't exist. It's climate change. It's a God called climate change that's doing all this. Okay. It's a long story. You're not the first to come up with this. It happened way back when, and it's happening now. So it's not a new story. So although the people had planned to build a city, they never carried out that plan, but concentrated on the tower. The tower was a tremendous undertaking. Since there were no stones in Babylon, which was a valley, they invented their own building material by baking cement in a brick furnace and using the bricks as stones. So Hashem granted them unusual success so that they should not later claim, if he had only let us build the tower, we would have been able to overcome him. The bricks were fabricated as if by themselves. When the people affixed one brick, they found two in the wall. When they put down two, they found four set up. So Hashem was doing miracles, nisim, to help them do this. So no later generation would ever claim, oh, Hashem didn't let us. We would have conquered him if he just let us. So the tower grew and soon was so high that it took a year to climb to the top. There were 2 rows of steps, one in the east and one in the west of the tower. Those in the east were used for upward traffic. Those in the west for descending from the tower summit. They had to commute up and down constantly to get the building materials. So fanatical were they in their zeal to complete the tower that if a brick fell and broke, they cried. So how difficult it will be to replace it. If a man fell down and died, no one even looked at him. They cared so much about it. All they cared about was the tower and the rebellion against Hashem. They didn't care for each other. They didn't care if someone died. So a young man, 48 years old, was walking past the site of construction. His name was Avram ben Terach, and he was well known for being opposed to the tower project. When the people had come to him with the invitation, join us in the enterprise of building the tower, for you are a strong man and you will be a great help. He refused, saying, you deny Hashem, you forsook Hashem. Who is the tower? And choose instead. It says Hashem is the tower. Hashem is the strength that will save us, And you choose instead a substitute, a tower made of bricks? Hashem's the real tower. Hashem created the world. Hashem hangs the earth on blima. It rests on nothing. It just floats there, never falls. When Avram passed and noticed the builders, he cursed them in Hashem's name, saying, destroy, O God, and divide their tongues. And Avram's rebuke was unheeded. The people mockingly responded, look at this barren mule. He's childless. So besides Avram, 3 more people remained apart from the involvement in the construction of the tower. Noach, his son Shem, and his grandson Aver. Shem reproved his sons and grandsons for taking part in the building. Against whom do you want to fight, he asked them. Against him who created the upper and lower worlds? But no one took his rebuke to heart, except one of Shem's sons, Ashur. And Ashur goes on to found the Assyrian Empire. So who removed himself from the enterprise, saying, how can I live together with these wicked people? He subsequently, sorry if I didn't pronounce that, he left the country and settled in a desolate spot outside of Babel. He moved to northern Iraq, into the bottom of Persia, the bottom of Iran. I swear to you, said Hashem, that I will give you 4 cities in return. And Ashur built 4 cities, and among them the big city of Nineveh, which it took 3 days. It says in Yonah, in the Megillah Yonah, that it took 3 days to walk from one end of Nineveh to the. It was so big. I don't know if Manhattan's that big. That would take you 3 days to walk across the whole city. So what happened? So what happens to the tower? Okay, this is why they built it. What happens? So Hashem, together with the 70 angels, descended and sat in judgment over the generation. Hashem decided, I will give them one last chance to do teshuvah, and if they will seize the opportunity, they will be forgiven, even though they do not deserve it, because at least there is peace and friendship among them. Since the generation had not returned to Hashem, they met the fate they deserved. Every segment of the population was repaid in accordance with the severity of its sin. The group which had stated, let us go up and stay on top of the tower to be safe from another flood, they were scattered all across the globe. Each one was returned to the country from where he had originally come from before settling in the valley of Babel. The group which had said, let us make a tower to wage war against Hashem, was transformed into monkeys, spirits, and demons. This is so crazy because it's this de-evolution. So maybe there wasn't an evolution, maybe there was a de-evolution as a punishment. So those who intended the tower to become a center of idol worship were punished for confusion of their language. Hashem said this wicked undertaking could only be devised by people with a common language. From now on, they will be divided by a lack of common language. Instead of communicating as previously in Lashon HaKodesh, in Hebrew, the language which created the universe, created everything, because Hashem spoke in Lashon HaKodesh to create everything. He said, Vayehi or, let there be light, and so on. So the people suddenly found themselves speaking 70 different languages, the 70 root languages of the world, the 70 root nations of the world. The confusion was instantaneous. When one attempted to address his friends, his words were unintelligible to the others. One said, give me water, and the other instead threw earth at him. One said, give me a rope, and the other handed him a saw and hit him with it, thereby killing him. A great fight, a great tumult, quarrel and tumult broke out. They all took their swords and began to slay their friends, and half of humanity died by the sword. Crazy. A global civil war. So what was the end of the tower? The lowest third was swallowed up by the earth. The upper third was burnt, and the middle part remained standing on the ground. To comprehend the gigantic height of the tower, we must know that even the remaining part after its destruction was so high that if someone ascended it, he viewed the palm trees below like minute grasshoppers. So tiny did they appear from above. How great is peace and how hateful is strife. Since the members of the generation of the flood hated each other, no remnant of them survived. The generation of the Doraflaga, the dispersal, however, was united, and its members were friendly towards one another, and therefore they survived. So Hashem couldn't stand when everyone was fighting with each other and stealing from each other, and then he brought the flood. But even though their aim was corrupt, and they wanted to fight against Hashem, they wanted to rebel against Hashem, because they worked together, Hashem only separated them and changed the language. The attitude of this tower, unfortunately, is so prevalent in our days. People either deny Hashem or whatever crazy reason. And not just one tower, skyscrapers all over the world. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of all these skyscrapers? So we're going to, bunch up and, it's high tower. Like, what's the purpose of it? The huge cities. What's the purpose of it? So much nicer having a house with some land, country, but the rebellion's still underway. But the descendants of Avram ben Terach, because Avram becomes Avraham, as we will see in the next Parsha, starts a different plan, a plan to bring humanity close to Hashem again. And Abraham and his wife Sarah, they invited everyone into their tent, and through kindness and hospitality, they wanted to show really how Hashem, loves us all and protects us all. And that we don't need these towers, these skyscrapers to protect ourselves. That the point is that Hashem is our tower, is our skyscraper. He is our rock. He is our greatest protection. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.